Hello and welcome everyone to the Polity Primer series of Drishti IAS. My name is Pragya and today we are going to discuss a very crucial and a contentious topic. The title of our today's discussion is Issue of Delimitation. So most of you have heard about delimitation only during the election season. So in this lecture we'll understand the answer to the following questions: that what is delimitation? What is a delimitation commission? Why is it important? What does the work that it does? Like, what is the exercise of delimitation? So we will delve deep into the answer to the following questions, and in this discussion we'll be studying about the meaning of this term delimitation. We'll also see the Delimitation Commission. We'll also analyze the constitutional provisions in this regard. We'll also see some of the key issues in the exercise of the delimitation. Then in the end, we are going to see a practice question for your prelims examination and a practice question for your mains examination. Now let us proceed to understand the background of our today's topic. So if I talk about the background of our today's topic, the historic Women's Reservation Bill, Women Reservation Bill has recently been passed by the Parliament, and it gives 33% reservation to the women in the Lok Sabha and the state legislative assemblies. But the future of this bill is contingent upon the exercise of delimitation, the future of the Women's Reservation Bill. And this move is often being criticized by the opposition, stating that there was no excuse for the government or no point of the government connecting the delimitation exercise and the Women's Reservation Bill. So with this background, let us understand that what is the meaning of this term delimitation. So if I talk about the meaning of this term delimitation in very simple terms, it means redrawing of the boundaries of constituencies in a country. So in India, what happens is we have territorial constituencies. So for example, in every state we have these geographical boundaries known as the constituency for conducting direct Lok Sabha elections. So delimitation is the act of or the process of redrawing the boundaries of these constituencies based on population shift and changes. And if I talk about the definition given by the Election Commission of India, it states that delimitation is defined as the act or process of fixing limits or boundaries of territorial constituencies in a country or a province having a legislative body. So this is what I was explaining you before also, that elections in India are based on a proportional representation system. Proportional representation system. We do not say that, okay, just because a state is big, we'll give them more representation in the Lok Sabha. And if a state is small and if it has less population, we'll not give representation to it in the Lok Sabha. No, this does not happen in India. In India, elections take place in the on the basis of this proportional representation system. And if you ask that, ma'am, what is the main aim behind conducting this delimitation exercise? So what happens is the states are going through a population change. So if we conduct a census, after every census we conduct a delimitation exercise to redraw the boundaries of the state as per the population, to give states an equal representation and equitable representation both in the Lok Sabha and the state legislative assemblies. And that is why we conduct this delimitation exercise. So this delimitation exercise is conducted by a Delimitation Commission. Kindly include the word commission here. So this Delimitation Commission is known as the Boundary Commission. Why are we calling this Delimitation Commission a Boundary Commission? Because it redraws the boundaries of various constituencies. And that is why we are also referring it to the Boundary Commission. And it is constituted by the Parliament under the provisions of Delimitation Commission Act. So as per the latest Delimitation Commission Act of 2002, Section 3 in this act, Section 3 in this act mentions about the constitution of a Delimitation Commission. And if I talk about the composition of this Delimitation Commission as per this recent act, it consists of Delimitation Act of 2002, Section 3. So if I talk about the composition, it consists of a current or a retired SC judge, the Chief Election Commissioner, and the respective state election commissioners. So this is the composition of the Delimitation Commission as mentioned under the Delimitation Commission Act of 2002. So Delimitation Commission is an independent body in maximum countries around the world. And if we talk about India as well, in India also this body works under the Election Commission of India. Election Commission of India or the ECE, and without any executive influence. So this Delimitation Commission is a very important body, and that is why we keep them aloof from any political interference. The Constitution mandates that the Commission's orders are final and cannot be questioned in any courts. Why? Because if we try to challenge the order of this Delimitation Commission in courts, it will delay the election process indefinitely, because court process takes a long time to complete, and that is why this the orders of this Delimitation Commission cannot be challenged in any court so as to conduct elections on time. And when the orders of the Delimitation Commissions are laid before the Lok Sabha or State Legislative Assembly, they are not empowered to change the order. Why? To maintain its independence. To maintain its independence. And the same happens in US as well, that in US also the Delimitation Commission is a very independent body. And in India also we are trying to ensure that this Delimitation Commission remains independent and impartial. Why? Because it is tasked with a very important task of redrawing the boundaries of territorial constituency. So we need to ensure its impartiality, its unbiasedness, and its independence. So if I talk about the constitutional provisions of Indian Constitution in this regard, Article 82 of the Constitution states that the Parliament by law enacts a Delimitation Act after every census. So as I was discussing this before also, that we conduct this delimitation exercise after every census, and last exercise was conducted in 2001, and that is why currently we have the Delimitation Act of 2002. Under Article 170, states also get divided into territorial constituencies as per the Delimitation Act after every census. Once the act is in force, the union government sets up a Delimitation Commission. So, as I was discussing this before also, that the Delimitation Commission is constituted under the Delimitation Commission Act, and Article 82 and Article 170 talk about readjustment after each census. And if I talk about the reservation given to the SCST community, it is given under Article 330 and 332 of the Constitution, and it provides for refixing the number of seats reserved for scheduled castes and scheduled tribes in the Lok Sabha and the Legislative Assembly of the state on the basis of the 2001 census. And which amendment states so? It is the 87th Constitutional Amendment Act of 87th Constitutional Amendment Act mandates this provision that after the 2001 census, we'll consider the 2001 census for giving representation to the SC and ST community. So although we did not want any communal representation, any kind of representation, because our founding fathers were very much against the communal electoral territorial constituencies. But we need to reserve the territorial constituency for the SC and ST groups. Why? Because they are very disadvantaged communities. They need representation equally, equal proportion of representation. If I talk about state like Orissa, and if I talk about states like other states which has a tribal population such as Jharkhand, in that the tribal population needs representation, and this was recognized by the founders of our Indian Constitution, and that is why it is important. The Delimitation Commission is also tasked with reserving the constituency for the SC and ST community. Under the 95th Amendment Act of 2009, this reservation is to last until 2020. So, when the constitution was formed, this representation or this reservation to the SC/ST community was given only for 10 years, but it kept on extending, and thanks to the 95th Constitutional Amendment Act, it is now extendable up to 2020. So, we are giving a representation to the SC/ST community as well, and this reservation of territorial constituencies for them is also done by the Delimitation Commission. If you talk about how many times this delimitation exercise has been conducted in our after independence, it has been conducted 4 times. So we have conducted this exercise 4 times. But although the census has happened 7 times, but we have only conducted this exercise for 4 times. The first delimitation exercise was conducted in 1951 by the President of India with the help of Election Commission, and that led to the formation of the first Delimitation Act of 1952. There were some census such as 1981 and 1991, after which this delimitation exercise was not conducted. So till now we have conducted this exercise after independence 4 times. So this was all about the constitutional provisions of delimitation. Now let us discuss the key issues in conduction of the delimitation exercise. So if I talk about the key issues in conducting this exercise, the first issue is no census. The last census was conducted in 2001. And after this, the 91st Constitutional Amendment Act of 2003 has said that a census cannot be conducted before 2026. And if I talk about the freezing of the number of Lok Sabha seats, it has been according to the 1977 census. So we are taking the 1977 census in to determine the number of the seats in the Lok Sabha. So you see, we need to have a census conducted so as to exercise this delimitation exercise effectively. If we are not conducting census, we have not conducted it in 2001, and the numbers are also freezed, that 91st Constitutional Amendment Act says that there cannot be a census before 2006. So what are we doing? We are decreasing the representation to the disadvantaged groups, and census must be conducted so as to figure out many things like representation of the disadvantaged communities. To decide on the reservation system as well, we need a census in place. And if I talk about the reservation for women, as per the Women Reservation Bill, this is also dependent on the conduction of the delimitation exercise. So this is the key issue with the bill, that even after it becomes an act, it will still be contingent upon the delimitation exercise. And how are we going to conduct a delimitation exercise if we do not have any census? So that is why conduction of census is also very important to give representation to the women, as has been promised under the number of the seats for Lok Sabha and state legislative assemblies has remained frozen for the last 50 years. Just imagine, last 50 years we have frozen the numbers of the seats, and this is what I was explaining before also. And this needs to change, because the times are changing, the scenario is changing. Now we have a new parliament building as well. So this census and the delimitation exercise should be conducted. But why have we frozen this number since the last 50 years? Because of the opposition from the political parties from the south. So the southern states political party states that their population is not increasing at the rate of the North Indian states. So they are alleging this fact that our population is not as increasing as rapidly as the population of the North Indian states, and that is why they do not want a delimitation exercise. They fear that due to their population, less population, they will get less representation in the Lok Sabha. But this is not true. If we are going to conduct a delimitation exercise, we can arrive on a formula which will give equal representation to the North Indian states and the South Indian states despite of their population. So a common ground needs to be achieved, and the delimitation exercise should be conducted as soon as possible. With this, we come to a conclusion of our today's discussion. We have seen the delimitation. What do we mean by delimitation? We have also understood what is a delimitation commission. We have also seen that why do we need to conduct a delimitation exercise as soon as possible. It is very crucial so as to give equal representation to the disadvantaged group, and now also to women as promised by the Women's Reservation Bill. Now let us see a practice question for your prelims examination. The question is, with reference to the Delimitation Commission, consider the following statements. And this is a PYQ which was asked in the year 2012. So your statement number 1 is, the orders of the Delimitation Commission cannot be challenged in a court of law. Your statement number 2 is, when the orders of the Delimitation Commission are laid before the Lok Sabha and State Legislative Assembly, they cannot effect any modification in the orders. Which of the following statements given above is are correct? Your option A is 1 only, option B is 2 only, option C is both 1 and 2, and option D is neither 1 nor 2. Kindly drop your answers in the comment box below. Now let us analyze a practice question for your mains examination. Discuss the opportunities and challenges related to the exercise of delimitation. So in the introduction, you will explain the meaning of this term delimitation. You will also talk about the Delimitation Commission and its composition, and why do we need to have a delimitation exercise. And you will state the key issues in conducting this exercise, such as there is no census, the Women Reservation Bill is also dependent on this exercise, and we need to arrive at a equal representation system to both North Indian states and the South Indian states despite of their population. And then you can conclude that it is very important for conducting a delimitation exercise, and a census is the need of the hour. I hope this session was insightful for you. If you liked the today's session and found the today's discussion helpful, kindly like the video and subscribe to our channel for more such updates. Thank you.